Shame on me. I forgot a very important story before I move on. And I've got to back up to before Nebuchadnezzar became like a beast. It's when he had built his statue in the plains of Dura, a statue, a figure of himself. And remember, it was 600 years before Christ, 60 cubits in height and 6 cubits at the base, just 666 all over the place. Anyway, he had commanded that the kingdom bow down to it. And it was to be, the time was to be when they heard music from 6 different instruments. And then they were to all bow at once to this statue of himself. And so they did that. But there were 3 boys that would not. Now, I don't know where Daniel was at this point. I don't know if he was, I don't know where he was. But he wasn't there, evidently. But there were 3 boys that refused to bow. They go, doo, 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 and nothing. And the boys stood there. And there were some people observing them, you know, when everybody else is bowing and you're the only ones that are standing up, looking around. I think you'd stand out in a crowd. And this infuriated King Nebuchadnezzar because they would not bow. And they said, "We will not bow, King. We only bow to the Lord, the true God of heaven." And Nebuchadnezzar was horribly infuriated. He said, "I'll give you a second chance." No, we don't need a second chance. So he commanded some of his men to come up, and he said, "You're going to be thrown into a fiery furnace if you don't change your mind." He was trying so hard to persuade them, but they would not bow to anything except the true and the living God. So he had some of his soldiers come up, and it says they bound them up, not just their hands. They bound them up all over their body. I think they looked like a mummy. They couldn't even walk. And he used, it says, new ropes. He used excellent, good, strong ropes. He bound them up and had them commanded to be thrown into a great fiery furnace. And so they bound him up, and the soldiers that threw him in there, and the king said, "Make it extra hot." And the soldiers that threw them in there, it was so hot when they opened the door, the flames, it says it in the scriptures, you can read it, the flames leapt out and it killed the soldiers. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fiery furnace. And they waited a few minutes, and the king waited a few minutes. And he says, "Come over here, fellas. I'll open this door for me, just a crack. I don't want to, it's hot. I don't want to get burned." So they opened it, just a little crack. And first of all, he had some of his other men look in there to make sure it was safe for him to look in. And they looked in there and they said, "King, didn't we throw 3 men in there?" And the king said, "Yes, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." And they said, "Well, I got to tell you, there's 4 men in there now, and the one looks like it could be the son of a god." Well, they should have said the son of God. And so the king said, "What?" And he said, "Open that door a little bit for me more." And they opened it up. And the king looked in, and sure enough, there was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and a 4th person in there with them. And he opened it. He had them open it farther. He said, "Let them out, let them out." And they let Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out, and they were unsinged. And Nebuchadnezzar said, where's that other guy that was in there with you? He wasn't around anymore. But the boys were unsinged, but their ropes were burned off. But it says not even a hair of their head was burnt, unsinged. And this just flabbergasted King Nebuchadnezzar. And he said, truly, you have a wonderful God that can do this for you. And so he let them go. But I wanted to bring you, this is getting long again, but I want to bring you to Malachi chapter 4. You know, we can, what did I do with my glasses here? We can get things in our head that have been taught for years and years and years, and it may be not quite right. But if you say something over and over enough, it becomes truth, so to speak, in quotes. But I want to read you something about when the prophet Malachi was alive. He was a wonderful prophet, and he had a lot of things to say about the end of the world and the Lord's return. I just want to read you something here. Do with it what you want. But I know what I believe, but you believe what you want, what you're, not necessarily what you're comfortable with, but what you think is the truth. So, first of all, I want to read in Malachi 3. This is called The Day of Judgment is the title. This is the King James Version. And it said, who may abide at the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appears? For he is coming like a refiner's fire and like a fuller's soap. I remember Fuller's soap years ago when it was sold in the stores. And it says that the Lord shall sit as a refiner and a purifier, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. Levi was the tribe that were the priests. And when we accept Christ into our hearts, it says we have become prophets, priests, and kings. And Levi, it says that Levi, and he shall purge them, the Lord shall purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering of righteousness. And then he goes on to say about the same thing about Judah. And Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, another one of the sons. And he talks about a swift judgment. And he says, for I am the Lord your God, and I change not. To go on, and chapter 4. I'm just going fast. You can read it all. Chapter 4. Here's what Malachi says, and I believe him. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, S-U-N, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do it, saith the Lord of hosts. So, and it goes on and on, but he is talking, that's Malachi 3 and 4. You need to read some of this Old Testament stuff. There's a lot of wealth and information in it. So we find out that he's likening Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the day when the Lord returns in flaming fire, taking vengeance on those that know not God. I know there's different views on what's going to happen to us, but there's other places where it says that the flames, 1,000 shall fall dead at our right, 10,000 are left, but it shall not come nigh thee. If God can do that with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he can do that with us. But I know there's different theories that will be somewhere else, and there's even split theories on where that somewhere else is. But we know, he says, it's like it was in the days of Noah. Only the ones that were in the ark of safety, those were the only ones that were saved and that were left. And when you start connecting the dots, it adds up to a beautiful story of salvation. Nothing can harm us if we're in Jesus Christ. Nothing. So I thought that was an important Bible story. Okay, you don't need to agree with me. Agree with the scriptures, though, not me. Agree with the scriptures. Okay, I love you guys. Onward. Bye-bye.